The blood on the Iron Throne is real, and Rhaenyra Targaryen put it there herself, one swing at a time. Queen's Landing ends with the shot this series has teased for 3 seasons, Rhaenyra seated on her father's throne, except she reaches it by wading through what is left of Otto Hydar. No cheering crowds, no bells, just a weeping queen, a stunned court, and her oldest friend dragged in to see the aftermath. Ryan Condal has said this story runs roughly 4 seasons, and this is the hinge the whole plan pivots on. So the question is no longer whether Rhaenyra wins, it is the one her own face asks as she sits down. Has Rhaenyra become the villain? The climax in the Great Hall is a masterclass in hollow victories, so start there, because it is the whole argument. Rhaenyra stands in the throne room with a heavy sword in her hands and Otto Hydar kneeling at her feet, the man who built her usurpation piece by piece and then got left behind as a parting gift. Otto does not beg. He offers her an out, telling her to let Daemon do it and to spare him at least from being hacked at. Daemon murmurs the opposite counsel. They are watching, and if you wish to rule, show them you do not waver. Then he gives her the line that reframes an execution as a coronation. In this moment, you will become queen. Otto invokes her father one last time, saying Viserys could never have imagined what it has come to, and she screams at him to speak no more before the sword falls. She does not order the executions. She swings the sword herself, and Jasper Wilde follows Otto under the same blade. When Tywin Lannister opens his mouth to plead, Daemon takes his head mid-sentence, casual as closing a door. Then Rhaenyra walks to the throne, and the camera stays on her boots, splashing through the pooled blood of the men she just killed. She is not glowing with vindication, she is hyperventilating, tears streaming, looking less like a conqueror than a mourner at her own coronation. For the book readers, Archmaester Gildane's chronicle records that when Rhaenyra took the city, the throne's own blades cut her, and the court read the wounds as an omen. The show trades that omen for blood that is entirely other people's. The doors open. Guards drag in Alicent Hydar and Helaena as prisoners. Alicent sees what is left of her father, and the 2 women lock eyes across the wreckage of everything they were to each other. And the head she actually came for is missing, because Aegon, the usurper, and Larys Strong slipped the city before she ever landed. To understand the sword, start with the stretcher. Jacaerys comes home from the gullet as a body, and Rhaenyra comes apart in a way this show has never allowed her before, wailing at his corpse, demanding how he could do this to her. When Sir Laurent Marbrand kneels and offers his life as penance, she cuts the gesture off with the only question that matters: will it wake my son? Then she turns on the whole room, asking every counselor who knew what Jacaerys planned and stood by whether their lives are not forfeit too. Hold on to that word, forfeit, because it is the first tremor of the throne room to come. The gullet's cost is everywhere this hour. Corlys Velaryon washes up alive among the corpses and mutters that if this be victory, he hopes never to see another. In her bedchamber, Rhaenyra finally prices the war out loud. The boys who hid their little faces in her skirts are dead, so that she may sit upon a throne of swords. And Daemon, fresh from putting 40,000 rivermen on the road south, gives her grief exactly one direction to travel. Will you let them die in vain? So she stops holding back. By the next council scene, she is done deliberating, announcing she is going to King's Landing now, and when her lords warn that the whole arrangement reeks of a snare, she answers, "If it is, so be it, I am done with talking." Mysaria stays behind with a parting gift and a warning to remember which one of them has been faithful. And the window is already open, because Aemond has flown Vhagar to Harrenhal exactly as Alicent promised. Because that is the other half of this episode. King's Landing is not conquered, it is unlocked from the inside. Alicent Hydar, the woman who crowned Aegon on a misheard deathbed whisper, finally says the words out loud to Helaena, "I made a mistake." Her plan is treason by every green definition. Warn Commander Largen of the Gold Cloaks that Rhaenyra is coming, invoke Queen Helena's authority, and stand the city down before a single torch is lit. When Largen notes that some would call it treason, she does not flinch. Some would. The question is, would you? the plan nearly dies in her own chambers because her sworn protector has sold her movements to Jasper Wilde, the Master of Laws. Wilde's confrontation is the ugliest scene of the episode. A man savoring his leverage, naming her affair with Sir Criston, demanding she plead with him, and then putting his hands on her. It costs him everything, because Grand Maester Orwyle walks in on the assault, believes his own eyes over the Master of Laws, and has Wilde arrested on the spot. Orwyle's parting line is the episode in miniature. "I do not know what you have done, Your Grace. I fear it is something desperate." The desperate thing works. Helaena the Queen, who would rather keep chickens than a crown, orders the sentries to stand down, and the battlement commander lowers his ballistas on a line that plays like a eulogy for the whole war. Her sons were always kind. So when Syrax and Caraxes darken the sky, Rhaenyra notes that Alicent did as she promised, tells the people in her path not to be afraid, that she has come to make things right, and the gates simply decide not to fight. What resistance is left wears a Hightower sigil, and it does not survive the hour. The invasion itself is almost an anticlimax, and that is deliberate. Rhaenyra lands Syrax inside the Red Keep and walks in through the front door, and when Ser Rickard Thorne's men bar her way and refuse to give up Aegon, the standoff is decided by the sound of marching boots. The real hinge is gold, not steel. Sir Luther Largent tells Daemon the City Watch remembers the commander who gave him his cloak 20 years ago, and every sword in the room hits the floor at once. The two voices that shout defiance for the Prince Regent and for the Hand are seized along with everyone wearing the Hightower sigil. And here is the detail that matters for the question we are asking. Rhaenyra refuses the empty chair, telling Largent not yet. "Bring Aegon the Usurper to me." She wanted the abdicated king kneeling, the one execution she had already justified to herself. And instead, Grand Maester Orwyle pledges fealty and buys his life by offering up Jasper Wilde. Then a jailer hands Daemon a gift left by Lord Larys Strong, Otto Hightower waiting in a black cell, like a card played from exile. Think about that gift, because handing your enemy a satisfying execution is also handing her the blame for it. Meanwhile, the episode cuts to the Riverlands to show you the war is not over, as Aemond and Vhagar descend on Harrenhal hunting Daemon and find the army already marched south. Aemond torches the castle grounds, puts old Sir Simon Strong to the sword in his own hall when the man declines to fight, and the last face he meets in the ruin is Alice Rivers the Witch who wanted Harrenhal for herself. That intercut is the episode grading its own moral curve, because while Rhaenyra executes prisoners to secure a throne, Aemond executes an old man for an empty castle. Alicent, who planned to let Rhaenyra enter and then flee with Helaena, never gets the chance, and both are rounded up as prisoners instead. So weigh the three readings this ending supports in ascending order of cynicism. The kindest says the executions are pragmatic necessity, the minimum deposit of fear a reclaimed throne demands. The screen genuinely funds this one. Aegon is alive and at large. Aemond is burning castles with the biggest dragon alive. Lords shouted defiance in that very hall, and the city has already proven it flips to whoever looks strongest. Daemon's counsel, show them you do not waver, is textbook statecraft, and nothing about executing the coup's architect is unusual by Westerosi rules of war. But pragmatism cannot explain her face, and the episode refuses to cut away from her face. A pragmatist takes the out Otto himself offered. Let Daemon do it, and she refuses it with tears already falling, which tells you this is not cold politics. It is something personal wearing statecraft's clothes. The second reading says she is repeating the cycle, trading the moral authority she hoarded for 2 seasons for the cheap currency of fear, and this one is shown, not implied. She once demanded a son for a son from Alicent on Dragonstone, and with Aegon gone, she collects anyway, taking Alicent's father instead. Her own words on the floor of the hall, "Our old friend can stand in his place." That is not law, that is substitution, and substitution is how vengeance dresses itself up as justice. The darkest reading is informed speculation that the whole ceremony is Daemon's design, choreographed so his queen ends the day as bloodied and irredeemable as he is. Nothing on screen confirms a plan, and naming that matters. But every clue leans one way. He is the voice at her ear. He reframes a beheading as the moment she becomes queen, and he watches her walk through the blood with something closer to satisfaction than grief. This is also the man whose last answer to her grief was hiring the killers who murdered a child in the dark, so engineering her corruption is not slander, it is precedent. Weigh them, and the pragmatic case dies on her tears, the puppet master case survives only as a shadow, and the cycle of violence is standing right there on screen, ankle deep. Rhaenyra has not just lost the moral high ground, she has butchered it in front of the assembled court. The last time Otto Hightower stood at her mercy, on the bridge at Dragonstone, she stayed Daemon's sword and chose to read the terms, because being better than the Greens was the entire point of her claim. This time Daemon does not need to swing, because he has taught her to. The Iron Throne has always demanded a piece of whoever sits on it, and Rhaenyra pays with the only thing she had left, becoming the exact tyrant the Greens spent 2 decades warning the realm she would be. Call the throne room justice or tyranny, but the show has already voted with its camera, giving her the crown in one hand and the frame of a war criminal in the other, weeping over a victory that smells of iron. She asked once whether the throne was worth her children's lives, and the episode's answer is the cruelest one available. She paid, so now it has to be. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss our deep dive into the next episode of House of the Dragon. Tell me below, is Daemon the one really steering Rhaenyra toward the executioner's block?